Tony Robbins says that success is 80% psychology, 20% strategy or mechanics. Why is it that we focus so much on the strategy when success mostly comes down to our own inner psychology? This is because A, strategy is more tangible, and B, it's very challenging to see our own psychology and our own blind spot. Your business is a direct reflection of your own leadership, of your own thought patterns, of your own emotions, and your own blind spot. So it's a very interesting game that you can play here. When you observe your business and look at it a bit from a distance, you'll be able to see that it highlights certain of your core characteristics. For instance, in my case, one of the things that I've worked on for a long time is patience. I'm a naturally quite impatient and fast person, and you get to see that in the business. For a long time, for instance, I would just record this podcast, not using a camera, just a webcam, do it quite fast. And I wasn't diligent and patient enough to do the process of preparing properly and setting up a camera, etc. So when you looked at the business and the activities I was doing, you could see that maybe I was creative and I enjoyed creating content, but I maybe didn't have the patience to do it more thoroughly and diligently. And then it becomes a practice to shift the way you work in order to help the business to grow. So this doesn't mean obviously totally ignoring your own nature, but it's more seeing what are certain aspects of yourself that are highlighted within the business. This takes a lot of perspective. This takes a lot of inner work to be able to see it quite clearly. If you're constantly noticing the same patterns, the same types of clients that you're working with, the same types of things that are happening and failures and issues, what is it about your own behavior, your own way of thinking that is linked to those behaviors and to those results? This is courageous. A lot of us prefer to hide and blame external circumstances, other people, but the truth is a lot of it does come down to what we're doing and what we're portraying. So for instance, if you're leading the company and you have a small team of 5-10 people and you're noticing that every time you work with the team, they're demotivated or they give their results late, or a lot of people are going on sick leave, this is probably linked to something that you're doing within the organization, whether it's creating a lack of psychological safety or very stressful circumstances, or maybe not an inspiring vision, or maybe your role modeling, arriving always late and they're repeating it. I once worked with a leader who felt that their team wasn't very motivated, and then I asked him, are you inspired and motivated in your work? And he wasn't. So of course the team is picking up on this. So instead of looking at, well, my team's not motivated and they're not performing well, something's wrong with them, looking a bit more like, what am I doing here as a leader? Oh, I'm also not motivated, not inspired. Maybe I need to check in and look there. This is what I mean when I say your business is a reflection of yourself as the founder. Now, obviously, there are external circumstances. There are things that can happen that have nothing to do with you or yourself or your personality or your traits. This goes without saying. There are the economical circumstances. There are individual circumstances of your team members and clients, of course. But all these patterns of repeat themselves and things that keep showing up, they're generally an indication of something that you're doing or not doing, or thinking or not thinking, and this highlights then how things progress in your own company. So when you're looking at your business and you're trying to see what it reflects about your own psychology so that you can work and do this inner work, you can look at both the team, if you have a team in place, how are they showing up? What are some things that you see within the team? Are they too lenient and always taking time off and always sick leave? Then maybe you need to be slightly more assertive. Or is it the opposite? Are they maybe quitting and then maybe you're too assertive? Then that also shows something. So it highlights certain things that we can do within to help, for example, to motivate and lead the team. This is also the case with client work and customers or investors. All of the things that you're seeing are an indication of your own inner psychology. And if you're feeling stuck or you're stagnated or you reached a plateau, this generally is linked to something. There's maybe a disconnection with your values, or maybe you're not aligned with your core purpose, or maybe you've forgotten to spice things up and add that variety in your business to make it fun and enjoyable again. Or maybe you're so ridden by fear and fear is so top of mind for you that you're just projecting fear into the business, and this is leading to a lack of results or progress. The business reflects your own psychology. Whatever you're seeing in the business, you need to look within and see how is this a mirror. It takes, as I said, courage. It takes being bold and honest with yourself, radical honesty versus blaming circumstances, and a lot of in-depth work. One aspect that can explain why this is so much the case is because our thoughts create reality. I'm sure you've heard this many times before when it comes to manifestation work, but here's how it works on a more sort of concrete step-by-step sort of logic. So hear me out here. First of all, you have thoughts, right? We have a gazillion thoughts every single day. The thoughts that repeat themselves over and over again become a belief. A belief is nothing but a thought that you've had so many times that after a while you feel it's true. So if you constantly are thinking, this isn't going to work, this is going to fail, or if you're constantly thinking, this is really hard, why is everything so hard, this is impossible, this is so difficult, then after a while you have this belief growing and running your company is hard, right? Because you've repeated it so often. It's sort of you brainwashed yourself into believing that. Then you have this belief that it's hard, or it's going to fail, or it's not working. What happens with this? Your belief creates an expectation of what is coming. If you believe that everything is going to be hard, you start off the day looking for what is hard. You have primed yourself to believe that something is coming that is hard, and this is an expectation. Now, what's very interesting about the nature of reality is the nature of reality is built around our expectations. This is because reality is created by looking at different expectations and matching this. This is scientifically proven. It's really a subtle way of looking at things. But for instance, the brain has a lot of different patterns that it memorizes. And then when there's a given reality or circumstance, it looks at it through the lens of all the different experiences it has to predict, this is where the expectation comes in, what this probably is. When you have a given emotion, it anticipates and thinks and compares with other times and think this is probably the emotion and this is probably why. It sort of constructs reality based upon the expectations. This is why it's so fantastic to go somewhere totally new or have a totally new experience, because your brain is sort of free and uncluttered of all the past experiences and patterns and can experience it slightly more raw. Now, we always have some filters in place. It's always just a perception, but at least you're not projecting so much your expectation. A way of explaining this, for example, if we look at a concrete example, if you have this core belief that people are mean and unpleasant, then you have the expectation that people will be mean and unpleasant. Then when you begin a conversation with someone, before they've even answered, you've interpreted some of the look on their face and expression they have as them being mean. And maybe they weren't, but you saw it that way because it was linked to that expectation. This is a very easy example of this. But if you really look at your daily circumstances, the daily events, you will see that it goes exactly like this. You have a lot of thoughts. Some of them convert in core beliefs around how the world works and how things work in your business and around you. These link to expectations. You expect things to happen a certain way. Subconsciously, you've primed yourself for either things to be hard or for them to be easy and fun, or for things to go well or not go well, or be boring or be fun or be exciting. You've primed yourself because you believe it, because you've thought of it so often. And this expectation sets the tone for the reality, which means you will notice the circumstances that are linked to this expectation. You will tint the experiences based on these expectations, and you will filter out things that could have been great based on an expectation that it wasn't. And this is why sometimes you'll see people a bit shocked or surprised or not sort of agreeing almost with the reality, because it goes against that expectation they had. For instance, if you're suddenly really nice to someone who thought you were going to snap at them or be disagreeable, they will be a bit thrown and startled. This is because they have constructed a vision of reality and what's about to happen, an expectation, and you're not matching it. Why is it important to be aware of this? The thought, beliefs, expectation, reality. It's because this is what's happening in your business. The outcomes you're getting, the results, the reality that's co-created based on your expectations come back to your beliefs and your thoughts. So the way to shift your external results of what you're getting in your business is really to look within at the initial thoughts that are repeating themselves and turning into beliefs, and to shift them. To shift these beliefs isn't just a matter of willpower and affirmation. To shift these beliefs, you need to challenge them. This comes from asking different questions, looking at times when was this belief not true? If you feel that your belief is that business needs to be hard, when was there a time that it was easy? And challenge that and look at that more often. Start to find contradictions within that belief to break it. Belief is just a thought you've had over and over again. You can break that way of looking at things. Once you've broken this belief and looked and created a new, more empowering belief, such as growing my business can feel fun and enjoyable, and I can do it with light and ease, and it's fun. I've said fun multiple times. So once you're able to do that, it changes your expectation. And here is where visualization, having a clear vision, thinking about possibilities, abundance, then changes the lens according to which you're filtering reality, changes what you pick up on, the conversations you notice, who you meet, how you act in your business, the projects you take on. And this changes your outcomes and results. Look at different patterns and examples in your own business and try and do this backward. Look at a time where you got a great result and think, okay, what was my expectation there? What were some of my core beliefs? And how did that affect the results I got? Similarly, when you struggled or got stuck at a plateau or stagnated, go back to that initial belief and see what was there and what was behind it. This is why the inner work is so powerful when you're running your business, because it will materialize in the results you get. Another way of looking at these thoughts create your reality is the thoughts lead to certain type of emotions. So when you think something, you feel a certain way, and this leads to you taking certain types of actions. So when you feel super empowered and encouraged and motivated and energized, you will take a certain type of action. And this type of action will lead to a certain outcome. So you see, whatever model we use here, it all comes down to the inner work reflects outside. These are two totally different ways of looking at them. One is slightly more from maybe a neuroscience perspective of the beliefs create a certain type of expectation that then yields a certain result. And the other one is a more pragmatic, from a certain set of emotion, you feel a certain way. Because you feel this way, you take a certain type of action, and these actions add up and create certain results. All of this to say, within, without. The business can be transformed only through looking what is going on within you. What are some of the core beliefs? What are some of the core emotions you're feeling regularly? How is that affecting your expectations? How is that affecting your actions? When you're not getting a certain result, go backwards. What expectation did you have? And what actions were you taking or not taking? And go back another step. What were some of your core beliefs? And what were some of your core emotions? And then it goes back to the thoughts. And if you have great awareness through things like having a strong meditation practice, you will start to notice your thoughts and emotions more clearly. You'll see how this has a ripple effect onto your expectations and the actions you take. And you will become more crystal clear when you're not getting the results, what's lacking in the inner work and how you can shift your inner work. Once more, let's be totally clear. There are things out of your control that do impact results. I'm not saying everything is within just your thoughts and emotions. I'm not deluded, but this is the bit you can influence the most. You can't change the weather. You can't change the economical situation in the world. You can't change politics. You can't change if someone in your team is suddenly ill, unless it's linked to putting them under too much stress. But if it's something in their personal life, for instance, these things you cannot influence, but you can look within and reflect on your own thoughts, your own emotions, your expectations, the actions that you're taking, and the impact that it's having. And the more you're willing to do the inner work and look within and be radically honest with yourself, the more you'll be able to shift and create that transformation within your own company. It really is a wonderful journey, and it takes a lot of courage, a lot of honesty, some really bold steps, reflection. It can be quite painful. This is maybe something that I need to highlight, which is why people don't do it and think it's all about strategy. It can be quite painful to see your own shortcomings and flaws. And this is where forgiveness, self-forgiveness, and self-compassion are really so important, because when you do this inner work, you will probably see as looking at your business as a direct reflection of your own inner being, inner personality, psychology, way of thinking, patterns. And this might highlight certain things that you don't like about yourself. And that's okay. Nobody is perfect. The aim isn't to be perfect. The aim is to understand what are some of the things we can slightly shift and slightly change in our way of leading the business, in our way of showing up, that will then have this ripple effect and create the results that we're after. And once you're able to do that with a bit of self-compassion, a bit of self-forgiveness, you will see your company pick up and bloom. Obviously, this is an ideal result. The reality is it'll go through ups and downs as always. But when you're doing the inner work regularly, you will experience scale and growth on a regular basis, because you'll be able to check in with yourself and have that honesty and see the inner work that you need to do in order to shift those beliefs and then those actions to get the results that you want. So obviously this does lead to growth and scaling your company, but not in a linear, exponential way, more in a roller coaster way, because if you know and run your own business, this is the journey that you're on. I hope this has been useful for you. This is probably my favorite topic, the business being a reflection of your inner world. So if it's something that you're working on and something that's important for you, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm always looking to connect with other founders and business owners on this journey that are interested in this inner work that needs to be done in order to grow and scale your business. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcast. Leave a comment or review. This really helps the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you in the next episode.